Hey everyone. I have no idea how long I've been in the Dollar General Beyond, but I figure it's been about a week. I've been keeping notes in my journal. It's the purple one with the glitter cover, if you must know, so I could update you guys on what I've learned about this place. It isn't a lot, I'm still getting used to the DGB, but I have made a few little discoveries. First, let me answer some of your burning questions. For starters, yes, all my social media works, but most of my friends seem to think that I'm having a go at them. The ones who call the police for me message me back to tell me to stop messing around. I've had my account seized on Facebook because they think I've been hacked, but Reddit still seems to work pretty well. Some of you have brought up the bathroom situation. I mostly pee down the sink in the back, but for number twos, I've set up a bucket with a bag in it. I've been putting the bags in the manager's office and just kinda don't go in there. The doors do not open, and the glass will not break, as I'll explain later. Keep 'em coming though, guys. I'll answer some more the next time I'm on. My first discovery was the things inside the Dollar General are finite. DGB is what I started calling the place to save time because spelling out Dollar General Beyond every time got pretty old. The stuff that's here doesn't seem to spoil. At least none of the packages have dates on them, but they do run out. You'd think it would take a while to go through all that stuff in the store, but you'd be wrong. 7 sleeps, since there's no days in here. After I got stuck here, I ran out of sandwiches that I liked. The coffee drinks that I usually drink were starting to get a little low, and the ice cream was gone. Now, I may have been doing a little stress eating, but most of it is just unnoticed replenishment that we all take for granted. I tried to find more in the back, but the back is just a big open space. There are some hand trucks back there and a couple of those pump-up lift things, but no product on the shelves. This leads me to the second thing. There is no way out of the DGB. The doors are still locked, and I can't see anything out the windows. There may be things out there, but they seem content to ignore me and are unaware that I'm in here. The doors in the back are also unmoving, and I looked for something big to break the front window with, but that only solidified rule number 2. I found a lug wrench in the automotive section, but it just bounces off the glass and doors. It doesn't seem to damage them, nothing beyond little dents, and I finally just gave up when I got tired. While I was lying on the floor, my chest working like an accordion, I noticed the ceiling. I scampered to the back and found a ladder near the wall that they probably used for changing out the ceiling tiles and took it back to the floor so I could climb into the ceiling. I thought that if I could make a hole in the roof, it's just green metal roofing like it usually is, I could get out and see where I was. I took some cutting implements and got the biggest ladder I could find out of the back, but as I slid open the ceiling tile, I saw not an attic space, but a giant pulsating void. I reached a hand up to it, but I couldn't bring myself to touch it. It was as if something was repelling me, and after standing up there for a few minutes, or hours, or however long I was on that ladder, I climbed down and put it away. I try not to think about it if I can help it. I've started doing things in the store to keep my mind busy. They've sort of colored my days. If day 1 was figuring things out and day 2 was getting settled, then day 3 was when I sat down to color. I had meant to go get some mouthwash when I saw the rack of coloring books in the stationery section. They had all kinds of coloring books, Avengers and princesses, dinosaurs and sea creatures, and before I knew it, I had a pack of colored pencils open and I was filling the pages. I spent most of that day coloring in animals of various kinds, or superheroes, or intricate designs in the adult coloring books. Heck, I colored in some of the regular books too, and I grabbed a couple of the more interesting ones to read off the spindle rack at the end of the aisle. On day 4, I set about building as many of the Lego sets as there were on the toy aisle. You wouldn't imagine that a Dollar General would have a lot of them, but I spent the better part of 12 hours putting Legos together. Spaceships, dinosaurs, buildings, vehicles. I assembled them all and began flying or driving them around the floor half-heartedly. By the end of the day, I was just throwing them at the front door and watching them smash to pieces. I told myself it was to make it harder for anything coming in, but I really just liked the way they went to pieces when they hit the glass. Day 5 was spent on cooking and crafts. I used the gas stoves they sell to cook a few dishes from the cookbooks. I even ate a few of them. I found a cookbook on the shelf and had the ingredients for most of the dishes, so I figured why not give it a try. After that, I built a bunch of crafts from the craft aisle, inflated some of the inflatable pool toys and had a tea party with them, and really just kind of had fun. This was honestly a time of relaxation for me more than anything. I had worked myself to the bone for years, and the ability to just kind of exist was nice for a change. I had been sent home for about 2 months with pay during the COVID times, and the longer I stayed there, the more I realized I missed it. I missed getting paid to exist, doing things I liked, and just having fun. It wasn't actually fun, though, I guess. It was more like when you're a kid at daycare and you're waiting for your mom to come pick you up while you play with their toys. It all came to a head on day 6. I woke up excited to find something else to do, but the longer I looked, the less I found to do. I put on some clothes from the clothing section, but I couldn't find anything my size. I found some pants that were too big and a shirt that was too small, and threw them both on the floor as I just decided to keep my old clothes on from yesterday. I went to the toy aisle, but nothing caught my eye, and after stepping on a Lego truck with my bare foot, I went to find some shoes. I then went to make some breakfast, but I was kind of over it. I settled for grilled cheese before going to find something to occupy myself again. Most of the crafts were built, most of the books were colored and read, and I was struggling to find anything to keep my mind occupied. I found one of those plug-in games, the kind you plug into the TV to play games on, but I couldn't find a TV to attach the cords to. I went to bed that night feeling frustrated and realized that some of the magic was gone from my sanctuary, which had turned into a prison cell. Then, on day 7, okay, this sounds a little childish, but I got fed up and went around wrecking things. It started with something small. I woke up with a pain in my neck, surrounded by inflatable toys, and went to go get a coffee drink. I stank. I could smell myself after not having showered in 5 days, and I decided I might try to set up a camp shower. I was still hoping to wake up and discover that this was some kind of dream I was having, but the longer it went on, the less sure I was. So I went to get a coffee drink. Starbucks mocha frap from the cooler, but they were all out. I didn't remember drinking the last one, but I guess I must have. There was a whole row of French vanilla beside it, but suddenly that made me even angrier. I didn't want French vanilla. I didn't want a microwave toaster cooked in the microwave I'd found in the break room, and I didn't want to be stuck in the Dollar General with no one to talk to anymore. I took one of the French vanilla drinks, stepped back, and hurled it through the glass front of the refrigerator. It shattered, spilling glass and coffee all over the floor, and I made another discovery right then. Number 3. That felt pretty good. I did it again, and again, and again. Then I ran out of glass, and I threw a couple at the front door, but it didn't break. After that, I went on a rampage through the aisles. I smashed all the crafts, threw all my Legos, popped my inflatable friends with scissors or knives, or just jumped on them. Tossed soda bottles, watched the tops burst as they went flying, and basically had a tantrum that would befit any 6-year-old. When I was done, I lay in the wreckage, making snow angels in a pile of chips I'd poured out, and as I panted heavily, I felt a little better. I had pushed over a few of the shelves as well, and between 2 of them, the slant they made seemed to form an arrow. I saw something else I had done. In my chaos, something had hit one of the ceiling tiles, and now all the blackness could be seen. I started to worry about that, but it was burned away in the face of my newfound adrenaline. I climbed onto the 2 shelves, shifting a little as they ground monotonously, and looked into the void. It was still just hanging up there, motionless overhead, and I grabbed something from the top of the fallen shelf and tossed it towards the space. I didn't write down what it was, but I guess it doesn't matter because it never came out of that space again. I grabbed something else, had reared back to fling it, but I stopped halfway through the throw. Something about that darkness made me very uneasy. The way it moved after I'd tossed something into it seemed angry. I know how that sounds. How can darkness be angry? But it did. It seemed to watch me as I prepared to throw, daring me to let it fly and see what happened. I let whatever it was fall to the ground and went down to get ready for bed. I was tired, exhausted from my day of destroying my prison, and I decided to drag my bedding under the shelves that I had dropped together. 1, it made me feel like I had a shelter, and 2, it was the cleanest part of the floor with the least amount of crap on it. 3, I guess, was that if it collapsed on top of me, at least I wouldn't be stuck here anymore. I had scratched that last one out of my journal, but I think it's important to have it now. It speaks a lot to my state of mind. I must have dozed off for a little bit because I came awake and I was surprised to see that something had changed. The store was completely dark. The store lights had never gone out in the week that I'd been here, not unless they went off after I went to sleep, and the new dark was highly unsettling. I wondered if that was what had woken me up, but as the shelves groaned again, I realized it had been something else. Whatever that something was, it was now perched on top of my makeshift structure. For the first time in a week, I had something else here with me, and the knowledge made my blood run cold. I was under a big pile of blankets and inflatables that I had dragged here, and I snuggled down beneath them like a kid when he thinks there's a monster in his closet. I heard it moving around, heard it making its careful way out of the shelves and across the mess I had created. The way it moved made me believe it was huge and hunkered to fit in the space, but I refused to peek and see what it was. It made a noise of discomfort more than once, clearly coming down on some of the sharper bits of my mess, and I closed my eyes as I tried to stay as quiet as I could. I wasn't sure if it was dangerous. I didn't know if it could hurt me, but I knew enough to know that I really didn't want to find out. It moved about for some indeterminable amount of time. Could be an hour as much as it could be 5 minutes, but eventually it left, and I could see the lights blink back to life as they came back on. Whatever it had been, it had killed the lights, and I made a note to watch out for that in the future. Eventually I gave up on sleep and got up to see what was still edible in the destroyed ruins of my cell. After finding some unopened chips and a mostly intact pizza, some of the soda that I hadn't wrecked, I sat down to eat breakfast and write this. I decided to transcribe the journal into my phone, just in case something happens to it, and I've also decided to go into the bathroom again. It brought me here in the first place. Maybe it can take me back again. Even if it doesn't, maybe it'll take me somewhere else. I've ruined all my food here during my tantrum, and if it brings me right back here, then I guess I'll have to salvage what's left and try to live as long as I can. Looking through the door now, the DGB on the other side looks very different from the one I'm in now. It looks like this one when I first came through, and I'm hoping that if it doesn't take me back where I came from, then maybe it'll take me somewhere less wrecked. Wish me luck. Either way, that's all for now. Hopefully there will be a chance for more some other time.
You're still here. I thought you might be. Thanks for joining me for tonight's story. If your insatiable appetite for horror knows no bounds, might I suggest one of our playlists, or one of our previous stories in the archive? There should be one appearing at the end of the story any minute now. And of course, if you're not subscribed, why not go ahead and hit that subscribe button? Maybe hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the spooky things that we do here. If you prefer your horror a little more analog, you can always pick up one of my books. There's a link below to my latest, and it'll take you to all the great things that I've posted on Amazon. For my book lovers in the audience, I always suggest coming on down to Patreon so you can become part of my ghostly reader tier and get a book anytime I write one, which is usually about twice a year. Speaking of my patrons, let's go ahead and thank them, shall we? Thanks to Unicorn Hollow for being our spooky ghost contributor. Thanks to Janet and Lady Vengeance for being our spooky skeleton tier contributors. Thanks to Hi Stacy, Winter, Xaronan, Emily Coltsfoot, Stephanie Carrington, Marianne Schuler, Tyler Parker, and Jennifer Damron for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributors. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. If you think you might like to support the show in a more monetary fashion, come on down to Patreon. I have many tiers. I'm sure you'll find one that suits you best. I always recommend the Ghostly Reader tier since you get a signed book anytime I write one on your doorstep. But I have many tiers, and again, I'm sure you'll find one to suit you. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.